Hello, hello, everybody, and hello, Enolia. How are you?
I am fine. Hello to everyone, wherever you are in the world. Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon. So great to be here with you, Stefania.
Yes, likewise. So good to be here with you as well. And good evening and good morning, wherever you are in the world as well. From Australia and from Africa.
Namibia,
Namibia.
Africa.
Nice. And here I am with the lovely Enolia again to have some more conversation with relationship talk, because our last conversation went really well, didn't it, Enolia?
It absolutely did. And we want to thank everyone for your interest and your inquiries and your questions. We welcome it again. So please do, if you want to engage us, ask the questions, talk to us. We want to discuss this out in the open.
Yes, absolutely. And tonight's, or today's topic, I should say, today's topic that we're actually going to be having conversation about is jealousy. Jealousy in all its forms, how to overcome jealousy, how to deal with jealousy. Because a week or so ago, I actually had a little live and I talked a little bit about jealousy, and there was a lot of interest about that. And again, after having, our talk last week, I got some more interest and, a few DMs asking, can we talk more about jealousy? And I said, okay. And that's how Enolia and I have come up with the topic.
And I just want to remind our audience so that they know a little bit about who we are, if they're just new and tuning in, is that I do work with women and Stefania works with the men's perspective. So we're bringing hopefully a well-rounded perspective as we have this conversation and as it unveils. So, thank you again for joining us. And yeah, jealousy is a hot topic. Let's talk about it. And I think that the first thing that we should do is really just define what jealousy means. So why don't you define it first, Stefania?
Oh, well, thank you, Enolia. Well, in jealousy is, its meaning. What is jealousy? Now, I've come to the conclusion after, doing a bit of research and my own perception of jealousy is a misuse of the imagination, I feel, because, we can get jealous because, our imagination can actually run a little bit wild. And that's what I feel it is. Of course, jealousy can be justified in certain areas, but in certain other areas, it certainly is a misuse of the imagination. So I'm not sure what you've got to say about that, Enolia, but, just to put it in simple forms.
I'd love to compliment that because I agree with you. It is a misuse of imagination. So I'm going to continue that because for me, I like to go a little bit deeper. So that misuse of imagination creates a story, and that story does not necessarily exist. And then why do we create a story that doesn't exist so that we can be jealous over? Are there feelings of inadequacy? Are there feelings of not feeling valued ourselves? So therefore, if we perceive that something else seems more valuable or someone else seems more valued or worthy than ourselves, then those emotions emerge. So I would expand it from a feminine perspective of that from my own heart.
Yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more, actually. And I'm sure every one of us have actually experienced either feeling jealous or being on the receiving end of jealousy. So, from, your existing partner, you may be in a relationship where, you're still having issues with how to deal with it, or you may, be dealing with past relationship issues and bringing it into also, your present relationship. So I think too, this is really important too, because last week we spoke about cultural awareness. And I think with our conversations, Enolia, and you might agree with me here, this is also a very big thing when it comes to, cultural awareness, jealousy, because for some cultures, jealousy is just normal. Like, you've got to have jealousy, you've got to express jealousy, and you've got to have, all those emotions, whether it be anger, fear, frustration, and projecting, or making your partner jealous, simply because that's a cultural thing. And so we're here to discuss that as well, because that can be really difficult to deal with. And I've certainly dealt with that. I've got, experience. Yeah. So how about you, Enolia? Would you agree?
Yeah, I would agree. So I would love to take this in chapters. Let's start off with just jealousy between a man and a woman, and then introduce culture into it.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about the women's perspective in terms of jealousy. And when a woman is jealous over a man, there are things that she's creating in terms of stories that she might see, and sometimes she's not creating it. But in when you're looking at jealousy, you're basically feeling a moment of inadequacy. You're perceiving that someone sees something and that they see more value in what they're seeing than what they have. And so we love to either create a story if it's another woman, and we're like, oh, well, what is it that she has? Or why is he looking? Or how could he do that in front of me? That's not courteous, that's not right. He shouldn't be looking at all. And I'll take it from the perspective of when you're not feeling like you're enough. When you're not feeling like you're enough, then you want to give and place value more on the other person that your partner is seeing. You want to say, she's prettier than I am, she's shapelier than I am, she has more, whatever story you've created. And then you allow those feelings and emotions of jealousy to emerge. And then I'm going to backtrack and say, now, what is it and how could jealousy emerge when you feel like you're enough? Well, I have just as much beauty. I am physically phenomenal, just like anybody else out there. When you have those feelings of knowing that you are enough, knowing that you are worthy, knowing that you have value in whatever perspective you look at, those feelings of jealousy will not emerge because confidence is already in its place. And when you feel confidence, then you walk with confidence and you portray confidence and you reverberate confidence. And when you reverberate confidence, your partner has his eye on you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree
What do
more.
you think? And what about from a male's perspective?
Okay. Yeah. Well, you're so right in what you're saying, Enolia. And I would have to say it's very similar from a male's point of view, from, working with males. I think there's a lot of comparison that goes on. And of course, underlying that is because you're not feeling good enough. A lot of men, are not feeling enough in themselves. But this whole thing about comparing, when you get in that state of comparing, whether, he's musclier than me, or, he's taller than me, or he's got hair and I don't have hair, all this really, lowers your self-esteem, lowers your self-confidence. And of course, you're focusing on what you don't have rather than focusing on the qualities that you do have. And in this, I'm saying, that guy may have more muscle than you, but has he got more muscle, and is he, funnier than you? He might have more muscle and he's taller, but is he, as sensitive and, able to connect with women like you can? So whatever you're focusing on, I really reiterate this to men. Don't look at what you don't have, look at what you do have and work on those strengths, because when you work on those strengths, you're not focusing on what you don't have and you're not comparing, therefore not falling into that trap of being jealous. So yeah, it's a fear of loss, fear of, rejection, fear of abandonment, and fear of what will my mates say if they see, my girlfriend talking to all these men, type of thing. But, when you have that, I say, when you have that trust and that close bond and clear communication, there's no fear of that, because, if you've got a beautiful looking woman, hey, men are going to admire her. And why wouldn't they? And who is she going home with? That's the question I ask. If she's coming home with you and she's with you.
And you just,
Yes. Sorry.
no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm so sorry, but you're so right. And I really want to emphasize that. Men and women, think about what initially attracted you. That's why you're together.
Yes.
And if you think and know and understand and embrace what initially attracted you together, that's the love, that's the appeal, that's the confidence. And it should just remain, because no matter who you're around, that person was attracted to you. Something about you was appealing. Something about you exuded the confidence that just said, yes, I want to be with that woman. That woman makes me feel good. Or yes, I want to be with that man. That man makes me feel good in these ways. And we, in our relationships, tend to forget about that.
Mm.
And see, if we go back to that initial attraction, those feelings of inadequacy weren't there. Those feelings of jealousy weren't there. None of that was there. Stay there. Stay in that moment. Stay in that place where you were sure of yourself. That person was attracted to you. And that attraction, again, is a vibration that says, wow, I want to be around that person. I want that person in my life. But then we shift when we're in relationship thinking that that wasn't good enough. And it was, because it was good enough to attract that person in the first place.
Exactly. And I think too, this, you mentioned storytelling, like you start telling yourself stories. So I said it's misuse of imagination, because the imagination will start creating stories. So it's distorted stories that you have to really be careful of. So really ask yourself, what story am I telling myself? Is this reality, or is this something, a configuration of my imagination of what I'm putting together? Is this what I saw? Did I actually see her with him in a way that, is making you jealous? Or you just have, this is all stuff that's coming up, because I must admit, sometimes there is legit, reason to be jealous. Now, if your partner is out, possibly, sleeping around, and for sure that that's what's happening, or then you have reason, and maybe you may want to ask, why am I with this person in the first place? Like, what kind of relationship do you have? So I think, I would say that you have to really be clear with what's reality and what's, distorted storytelling. Would you agree?
So I would partly agree, and I'm going to go there. If you suspect or feel that your partner is not being honest, then instead of experiencing feelings of jealousy, if you know that you're worthy, then that confrontation and a decision just needs to be made. Does this person deserve me or not? I don't need to be jealous. There are many, many partners out there, or people willing to have integrity in their relationship. And if the person that you're with does not have integrity in your relationship, why waste the energy of even being jealous? I would say let him go. Let
Absolutely.
him go.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it. Maybe a little bit hard, but because there are some people who can forgive, and if you're in that nature of forgiveness, that's beautiful.
Mm.
But this is based on you knowing that you bring value to the table, not you thinking that you don't bring enough.
Yeah.
And then that decision is made from a place of power versus a place of fear.
Yes.
And then you have the right to make that decision. You both have a right to make that decision.
Yeah, definitely. Because,
So that would be my spin on it.
yeah, because I think, prolonged, letting that go and having this, prolonged feeling of jealousy, going back to, if there's nothing really there and you've got this overwhelm of jealousy, it's only going to bring more anger and frustration and fear. And I think what happens, it drives people apart. And I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen, particularly if your partner is accusing you, or you're accusing your partner of seeing someone else, or something that is a configuration of your imagination. It will eventually destroy the relationship. I know, because I've had that happen to me. I've experienced it, but it has nothing to, it has no strong foundations, because you don't have trust. So I don't know, what would you say would be some things to help overcome, jealousy? Let's say if you're the jealous type, and if you can take ownership of it, first of all, I think that's really important, ladies and gentlemen. I think once
So,
you acknowledge it and take responsibility, it's the first step.
so I'm going to share from two perspectives. So in owning it, if I was a jealous person, the first thing I would do is to look at myself and uh, understand why I was creating the story that I'm not enough and I'm not valuable enough to be worthy to be in a relationship that does not need to foster the fact that I have to be jealous. Jealousy is a projection. I'm either getting jealousy projected onto me or I'm projecting jealousy onto someone else. And we need to stop the projection. And you stop the projection by looking inside, looking at who you are, understanding that what you bring to the table is of value and who you are is of value. And that if that value is not being respected and honored by the partner you're with, then it's a reassessment on my own part to say, then why am I in this relationship? This relationship isn't nurturing me. It isn't making me feel good. It is bringing forward feelings of jealousy. And remember that every person that you encounter, there is a emotion that is emoted between the two of you. There's some people that will bring out the best in you, and there are some people that will bring out the worst in you. And maybe you need to step out of the drama of the story. Once you remove the story, then you have nothing else but the truth to look at, and it's your truth. And that truth is basically saying, am I creating the drama? And if I'm creating the drama, how do I move past the drama? Well, moving past the drama might mean removing the person who's creating the drama if they're creating it, or moving past the drama might mean I need to know that I'm enough and stop creating these stories so that it perpetuates me feeling inadequate and me thinking I'm never enough. That is a growth on our own part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look at the other perspective, where jealousy is constantly projected onto you, okay, then you need to step out of that emotion of reacting to the jealousy. And if you know that you're not doing anything to make that person jealous, then they have work to do. And then again, I'm sitting there and I'm evaluating the relationship and saying, is this relationship worth going through these iterations? Do I want to stay here the long haul, hoping that this person will grow? And if they don't perceive or see that it's their own feelings of inadequacy, then maybe I need to reevaluate where I am.
Mm. Fair enough. That I agree. Now, another perspective, right? And this This is another jealous issue that I get with, you know, my clients, you know, coming out of past relationships where, you know, you have experienced, you know, being cheated on, or, you know, being abandoned, or feeling all that kind of, you know, fear, which often that happens. We come out of one relationship and we enter another relationship with all that baggage, with all that, you know, emotions. And what happens is sometimes, you know, consciously or unconsciously, we project that onto our new partner. And that can also be a big problem. So I think that is an area which really needs to be, you know, dealt with, because if it's not dealt with, it can also bring a lot of, you know, distancing, separation, and eventually maybe even a breakup. So what would you say to that, Enolia, with, you know, coming out of a relationship where you've experienced?
So we all have had the primary relationships where we've been hurt. And fears and hurts. And to me, the ground rule in the next relationship would be tell the truth. Tell the truth. No matter how vulnerable you feel, tell the truth. So if you're with your partner and your partner says something and it triggers how you felt in the previous relationship, and your reaction is from your previous relationship, and we all know what it is, because we all have had it, whether it is, oh my God, I can't talk about money, or oh my God, I can't do this because in my previous relationship I would get beat up for talking about money, and questioned and interrogated, and how are you spending it, or whatever that case may be. Then when you're reacting in a new relationship and your partner says, why are you reacting like that? This is where I say, tell the truth. You pause the argument or the debate and you say, you know what? In my previous relationship, I reacted that way because I was always interrogated. I was always questioned. I always felt pinned up against the wall when spoken to. And so my reaction is always defensive. I didn't mean to react that way. You are not that person. It's going to take me a little bit of time to shift that energy because you triggered me. It's an automatic response. And we catch those responses. And if we're mature enough, we actually state that that's where the response came from. And if we're even more mature, we actually admit it. And that's the growth. The growth is in the admission right then and there when it first starts happening. And then once we admit it and we notice, then we can make a different choice and a different decision and a different response. And it takes maturity on both sides to make that happen. And it's funny because the relationship I'm in now, that's one of our ground rules. That's one of our ground rules, is that if I'm like, whoa, where did that come from? And we actually pause from the conversation and he'll be like, time out. You know what? In my previous relationship, I always had this response, and I realized that you're not that person. I need to retract that. And here's where I'm coming from. And then enter into that conversation with calm, with grace, and with integrity, and tell the truth. And if you need time to get over it, you just say it. It's going to take me some time to get over responding like this because I always did in my previous relationship. Will you work with me, and will you recognize that I have to grow this way? And then that way you can go, whoa, 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 wait. That response is a little bit off. That doesn't seem like you. The quality of the person that you are wouldn't respond to me like that.
Yeah.
And notice how I said that, because that deems a different response versus, oh my God, you always treat me like so-and-so. No, we don't have to respond like that. Just like look at that person and say, the quality that you are, that doesn't seem like you. And then that makes you step back and pause and then go, let me answer this a different way. And I'm sorry, that's a long-winded answer to a question, but that's how I would see it. And that's how I deal with it, you know?
No, that's good. That's good. Yeah, I think that's true. And definitely there are some,
So
sorry, you're going to ask me something?
I was going to say, so let's introduce culture into this as a next step.
Yep.
Because culture plays a huge role in this. And I know that you've been around the world and you've seen certain cultures that embrace jealousy like it's the norm.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been your experience? What's been your experience in dealing with jealousy as a norm?
Okay. Well, I have had some interesting experiences, but I think the biggest experience or the repeated experience that I've had, particularly, you know, through Europe, because the males and females, you know, both, there's this mind games or playing games, right? Where either partner decides, well, you know what, I'm going to make he or she jealous. Because they're already feeling that jealousy, they'll then start creating another, you know, I say fire, where they'll go out of their way to, you know, make their partner jealous, because that's their way of either getting attention or, you know, drawing attention back onto them. So, you know, I always say that is the, you know, the wrong way to go about it, because, you know, if you start little fires and start playing games, it's not going back to what you're saying. Speak your truth. Tell your partner how you feel, you know, like, this is how I feel when you do this, you know, this is, you know, something I've experienced in the past, and I know I shouldn't be bringing into the present, but, you know, help me with this. Ask for help from your partner, because I think if you can talk about it, the more you can talk about it, the better your partner can understand your reactions, you know, to certain things. And I always say, you know, if you are feeling that jealousy, really try working on believing them, believing what your partner's actually telling you, because at the end of the day, that's all you've got, right? But you're also going to start, you know, being very calm and relaxing, because at the end of the day, the truth always surfaces. I always say that. The truth always surfaces. So lies have short legs. So sooner or later, if that partner of yours is going to cheat on you or is cheating on you, you know, oh, sorry, that's little Lucy in the background. He was sleeping. Hey, Lucy. You know, that's a reflection of who they are, not of who you are. So, you know, that's really, really something to think about. And, you know, really, you know, I know this sounds really crazy, but in your imagination, you know, being comfortable with, you know, being prepared to lose them if they do decide to go elsewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. And I love what you said. I would also encourage the person to think about where those feelings of jealousy are originating. What happened in your own life that would make you jealous? And I'm going to talk about jealousy in a cultural perspective, because here I am in Africa, and jealousy is a norm here in Africa, and I don't understand why. There are these, well, I do understand why, but I don't understand why it is a natural part of the belief system. And let's go back to that.
Mm-hmm.
There is this belief system. We all have belief systems. But in our culture, in the African culture at least, in that belief system, it's expected that you would be jealous of your husband or jealous, and that is a showing of love. And I'm just here to share that there are ways to show your love absent of jealousy. Because jealousy creates malice. It is the negative. Jealousy creates this sense of needing to control. And no one should be controlled in a relationship. That is a form of subservience. We should, as partners, be walking side by side with mutual respect, not command and control of the other.
Mm.
So you can definitely share this from the male perspective, but those women who are upset with their men controlling them in this manner based on jealousy, well, he would be jealous, well, he would be angry, he would be this. Well, if he felt like he was enough, he would never have to be jealous. He would never have to be angry or control or controlling. He would know that the beauty that he brings to the relationship will always draw you in, will always attract you. And that to show love is to show mutual affection, to show mutual respect, to show mutual intelligence, to show mutual love has many layers and many tiers. And it does not have to be expressed through jealousy. And so I just plant that seed to cultures who feel like, well, I have to be jealous, and jealousy is the form of control, and control is the show of affection, of love, and that's how I have to be loved. Love has many faces, and that does not have to be one of them.
Absolutely. And another area, I think, too, is viewing your partner as a material possession, because when you have this control, when you have this, jealous, this really obsessive and green-eyed monster, feeling of jealousy, your partner isn't your material possession. Let's face it, this person that's in your life, is there to grow with you and share and love, but love is not possessing someone in any shape or form. So I think that's really important. That's what I found in my travels, particularly living in Italy, in the southern part of Italy. The men are very, very possessive and controlling. And, even watching the behavior, this is what really used to get me, if they were on their own, the women would be, behave a certain way, but then together with their partner, they would behave another way, and vice versa with the men. Do you know what I mean? Which again, yes, they put themselves in these positions because of fear, because of unable to be honest and, open and authentic and transparent, that it's okay to talk to other men or have male friends that you've had in the past, because, let's not forget, either party has had a life before you've come along. So, it doesn't mean they've got to drop all their friends. And that's what I have experienced in the past, where I've, been made to feel like you got to stop talking to this person, you got to stop talking to that person. It doesn't feel right. I mean, it's not comfortable, and it's certainly, not coming from a place of love, and it doesn't feel loving at all. It doesn't feel loving at all.
Or the fact that if this was in your belief system and this is all that you've known, dare to explore the fact that it could change, it could shift. It doesn't have to be that way, and that you don't have to show jealousy in order to show love, that you can show love and respect and trust, and know that your partner will always come home, and know that your partner in that love will always honor and respect you. And again, if they don't, then there's a question of, why are you in the relationship? And then I also want to bring jealousy in terms of other things. Many people have been in a marriage and then gotten divorced, and then moving on to the next relationship, and then because, and I'm talking about this in a cultural perspective too, because one of the partners is in a new relationship, the original wife has to be jealous. You know, they have to be jealous. They couldn't enter in a understanding that life goes on. The two of you didn't work out, and you have to be jealous. And I want to talk about this because, especially when there are children at hand.
Absolutely, yeah.
When there are children at hand, why can't we be adults, understanding that life has moved on? We've broken up because there wasn't a mutual respect, whether one person feels it was right and the other one doesn't, or you both feel that you didn't want to be together, or whatever the circumstance may be. Why aren't we mature enough to rise to the occasion to know that in the best interests in hand of the children, we have to be civil with one another?
Absolutely.
See, one of the things that we have to realize is that when you've been married with someone and a child is involved or children are involved, that person is in your life forever because the children are in your life forever.
Mm-hmm.
And so there needs to be a mutual respect or common ground that two adults can deal with each other, consult with each other, and take care of the children, regardless of whether they've moved on in the relationship or not. And this thing about being jealous because, oh, that was the first wife and he has the second wife and there are other children, and oh, I have to be jealous because he moved on or she moved on. You know, the children suffer.
Absolutely.
And we need to lay those emotional roller coasters aside to assist the children.
Absolutely. I wouldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. I think the children are the ones that will be the sponges and absorb all that, vibration that's coming off the couples. They're going to feel it the most because they're feeling hopeless and they're loving both parents, but they're seeing this, arguing and disagreements going on. It's not pleasant. So what would you say? What would be 3 tips, Enolia? I think we should give our audience 3 tips each to how to deal with if it's jealousy yourself, and if you have a jealous partner.
So my 3 tips, one, if it's yourself, if you are jealous, look in the mirror and start looking at how you love yourself. I am enough. I am worthy. Who I am is of value. And when you value yourself, then your response to your partner won't be one of jealousy because you know that you're enough. The second tip I would give is stop creating the stories. If the story doesn't exist, don't create one and put a story there. Move through the story of jealousy, move through the story. And if you really are finding that there are components that would lend you to believe that it's valid, that there's something going on and something's not right, then instead of taking on the projection of you're not enough, take on the projection of I am enough, and does this person deserve me? That's a different shift.
Yeah.
And then the third tip, for those of you who are in jealous relationships and your partner is jealous, I would say this to you. Jealousy is a projection. Stop giving away your power and taking on the projection of what somebody else sees in you, and stand true to who you are. You don't have to take on that projection if you are enough.
Beautiful.
You don't have to take on somebody else's projection and make it your truth. So that would be my take on it.
Nice. I like that. Well, my 3 tips, I would have to say, is stop comparing yourself. Okay. Stop feeling, yes, you're not enough, but the comparison thing, particularly for men, stop looking at, other men in a physical way, start concentrating on your own self and your own, wonderful, awesome qualities and what you bring to the relationship. So focus on that. And if you can do that, then you're not focusing on what you don't have. Okay. And number 2, stop playing games. I think I said that one before, but that's a real big one because, when you stop playing games, you stop feeding this jealousy as well. Because I think when you start, creating these mind games, and it's only going to make the fire bigger and worse, and you're going to create more problems than what you already have, definitely. And I think, start using, another one I said, start lengthening the leash. Okay. And by this, what I mean is trusting your partner, really start, believing, telling yourself, I believe her, and or even telling your partner, I believe you. I believe what you're telling me is true. Because when you can actually say that to someone, I believe you, you're actually holding that person also accountable that you're believing them. So if they're going to do the dirty and cheat on you or whatever, it's on them. It's not on you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're, projecting that belief and really using that imagination to not go there. Think of other beautiful scenarios rather than, fear of loss and fear of anger and everything. And yes, and the last one, if you do have a jealous partner, obviously try not to react when all this is projected on you, because again, like you said, Enolia, you're giving your power away. So pick your times when you're going to talk about it. I always say, because if you're both fired up, that is the worst time to actually start discussing, how you feel and how she feels and vice versa. So, choose your times. You may want to say, I think this is all too heated up now. Let's calm down and let's talk about it later. And that way you give yourself time to jump out of the frame, look at the situation for what it is, and how she's reacting, and that it's not about you, it's about this other person in your life and what they've gone through in the past. And you may even want to bring up, some counseling, some therapy, something to help that person, and that you want to be part of their therapy, that you're there to support them.
Coaching.
Coaching, absolutely. Yes, that's where we come into it. Exactly. And because, if you can support your partner through what they're feeling because you truly love them, because your partner's jealous doesn't mean you don't love them. It just, triggers you, and by helping them, you're helping yourself and helping your relationship. So it's, hopefully eventually smooth out, all those ripples that some relationships need to work through, and smooth them out and have happier, heartfelt, more loving, sexy, passionate relationships.
Yeah, I want to end it because I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking there's one other thing that needs to be said, which is heal old wounds.
Yes.
That have created, if you know the origin of your jealousy and not project it onto others, heal the old wounds so that you could see that it is a different person and not the same person. All women aren't going to treat you like this because one woman did.
Absolutely. And the game.
Or all men are not going to treat me like this because one man.
Yes. And, I think that's a valid point. And if you can't do it on your own, get help. There's nothing wrong with seeking help.
Oh, that's why we coach. And then the last thing that I wanted to share on this note too was don't perpetuate it, which means that your children are watching you. How you deal with jealousy, how you deal with not being a jealous person and how you deal with jealousy in a relationship. And when I say don't perpetuate it, if you could adopt the mantra of it stops with me. It stops with me, because your children our children pick up our worst habits sometimes. And then they mimic us. And they mimic us because that's all they know. That's what they're exposed to. And if we don't stop, or if we don't even stop and have a conversation with the children to say, you know what, I'm working at this. This isn't the best way to handle this. Here is an alternative view to handle this. And I'm working towards that view. Give them alternatives. Otherwise, we're recreating exactly what we do over and over again through our children.
Right. Fantastic. So, Enolia, where can people find you? Where can these women find you to be empowered and overcome any issue, not jealousy, anything in life, in relationships?
I can be found on www.enolia.live. I do coaching sessions. I do couple sessions. But that's where I can be found. And I can also be found on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So, and Twitter. But wherever you deem, just look up Enolia and I will pop up. I will arise.
Excellent. Excellent. All right.
And how about you, Stefania?
All right. For the men out there, they can find me at www.thegentlemansquare.com. So I have my website there. I'm on Facebook as well, Instagram, YouTube, and of course, Facebook and Twitter as well. So if any one of you have questions or anything, you know, please feel free to ask myself or Enolia. Leave a comment down below. We always love to answer back, you know, and also if there are any specific topics that you would like us to talk about, because I think, you know, we're starting this, you know, relationship talk conversation to eventually lead into something a little bit more like some group sessions with women and men, because I think that will be great to have both parties interact.
Men, yes.
Yes. And for you men out there, not to be shy. I mean, the women are, you know, a bit more open and coming forward, but I find the men are a little bit shy.
And I would encourage that for those of you who are just getting to know our work, or this might be a first time, go to our YouTube channels and play some of the previous episodes. We only have one episode of Relationship Talk, but get to know our work. Get to know our work. Take the time. You are worth it.
Absolutely.
You are worth it, because anything that improves the quality of your life is worth being a priority.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. So thank you for joining in. We'd like to say thank you for all of you. So very grateful. And thank you, Enolia. It's been great chatting with you as always.
Thank you so much. I'm trying to like make sure that that horn doesn't come across anymore. Thank you so much.
It's okay. You know what? I've got Lucy here who's been sitting on my lap. I bought her a new outfit. And she's sitting patiently because she's waiting to get walked, actually. That's why she's hanging around. I couldn't leave her out there. So, but she's been okay. She only barked once. So it's been good. All right.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Yep.
To our audience.
Thank you. We'll catch you in our next relationship talk. Bye for now. Bye.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Bye.